In Algebra 2, Section 8.1, we're dealing with multiplying and dividing rational exponents. So basically what we're doing is we're dealing with fractions of equations that we have to reduce. So this is something that you've seen, 8 over 12, and then if I factor it, it's 2 times 4 and 3 times 4. Well, the 4's can cancel out, reducing it to 2/3. Okay? Except in this case, I'm dealing with entire equations. So I have to use the skills that I used from the chapters behind, and I have to factor these equations. Well, this factors into x minus 3, x minus 1, and this factors into x minus 1, x minus 5. Now, I cannot cancel out individual numbers, but I can cancel out bubbles, right? I can cancel out this parentheses and this parentheses because they're exactly the same. And again, they have to be exactly the same. If this is a negative x and a positive 1, I cannot cancel out. It has to match. And so I can cancel this out, leaving me to reduce to x minus 3 and x minus 5. So this is what you're used to. We're just doing the same thing, except now we're factoring each equation. So, for example, this right here is simplified. I can reduce the bottom one to y plus 7, and this can be x minus 3, right? Two numbers multiplied together gets me negative 9, but added together gets me 0 because there's no b. And then 3y plus 7. Okay? So in this case, this and this already cancel out. So I can leave it in this format, or I can put it back in its original. So I can put 3y squared minus 9. If it's the only parentheses on there, I don't need to write the parentheses. And that's what they have in common. Sometimes you can't put it into two bubbles. Sometimes you just have to take out what they have in common. So for example, a to the 4th and b, they both have a to the 4th. So I'm going to take this away. I'm going to take a to the 4th out. If I take a to the 4th out, that means I divide it, so I'm left over with b and then minus 2. And this one, I can take an a to the 3rd out. And I'm left with 2 minus b. Now, these are not exactly the same, but what I can do is and remember, I can manipulate it as long as I don't change the value. Okay, I can manipulate it any way I want. I can make a to the cube negative. That would make this, they would change I would take out a negative. If I take out a negative, right, that means I have to have, it would be a negative a cubed. And that means I would change this to a negative 2 plus b. I would change the values. Because if I multiply, the reason why I can do that, if I multiply the negative back in, it changes it to its original. Okay? And then the a to the 4th stays the same. So what that does is this then becomes a to the 4th, negative a to the 3rd, and this is b minus 2, and I can rewrite this to b minus 2. This cancels out, giving me a to the 4th, negative a to the 4th, a to the 3rd, and when I'm dividing exponents, I subtract, so 4 minus 3 gives me negative a. So I'm going to keep going until I can't reduce any further. So go ahead and pause. Write this down. I have one more board for you. So it's nothing exactly new that you've been dealing with. It's just a lot of the last chapters, last couple of chapters put together that you have to remember the rules. So, when I'm dividing, this is mk squared 5. Okay, this is the same thing as when I'm dividing fractions. What do? When I'm dividing fractions, I flip and multiply. So I take the first one, k squared over 3c squared d, and then I times it. Or I can cross multiply, it's up to you, but I'm going to flip the second fraction and then multiply. Then I can see what they have in common. So I'm going to put this all into 1. This is 10mk squared 6c squared d squared over 3c squared d 5m to the 5th. And I can start cross-canceling. 10 and 5, this becomes 2. 10 divided by 5, 5 divided by 5 is 1. This is 1, and this is 2. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 3 divided by 3 is 1. My m1 to the m4, I cancel 1m, making this 4. C squared and c squared cancel out. There's no k. D, and I'm still left over with 1d. So then this gives me, what do I have left over? 2k squared. 2 times 2, which is 4k squared. And then 1 times 1, m to the 4th. Now let's say you didn't get everything. It's okay, then that means it should cancel out from here. But make sure you figure out what you have left, because if you miss it, because you can always reduce more, but if you forget to write it down, okay, that let's say I didn't put the m on here, because I almost didn't, then it would be wrong. But if I didn't reduce, but I can always reduce further, is what I'm saying. So this one, a to the 4th, I can take out. Oh, we did that for number 2. I don't know why that's written again. Okay, so that was number 2. And then, so this one, it's just a different way of writing this. It's this fraction divided by this. So I can easily write the first fraction, which is the top one. And then I can flip this and then multiply instead of having to divide. So 2y minus 3x over x cubed. And then I can cross cancel. So this means x squared. Because there's some plus or minus, I can't do the same thing here where I'm just cross canceling. I have 2y minus 3x, and then here I have x cubed, and this has to be in parentheses because I have to multiply each. 9x squared minus 4y squared. Now you might be tempted to distribute, but I wouldn't distribute. I would try to factor more, or else I'm going to put more work in for myself. I can't factor this. There's nothing these two have in common, so I'm going to rewrite this whole thing down. But I can factor x cubed, and this can be reduced to 2y minus 3x, and then 2y plus 3x. Okay? So this would cancel out, and then this, I cancel out 2 of these, so I'm left with 1, and this whole thing cancels out. So I end up with, since there's nothing left here, it's just 1. Don't forget to put that placeholder 1. And x, 2y plus 3x. Now I can leave it there, or I can distribute the y on here. I'm just going to leave it in here. But if you distribute the x, not the y, but if you distribute the x, it's not going to be wrong. So go ahead and pause and write this down. Try page 533, number 1, and I will see you in class.